Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the seventh installment of Under the Influences. I am your host, Jon Phipps. For those of you who might be seeing this for the first time, this is a show where I sit down with a guest and we talk about that guest's favorite band or singer, and we also break down we also break down the favorite album of the guest's choosing by the band or singer that they chose. And this week's guest is about as close to a musical chameleon as you're going to get. She is a wonderful singer-songwriter in her own right. She runs the Moon Street Music Hall there in Marietta, Georgia. And she has quite the story to tell about the band that's in the spotlight tonight, as I'm sure a lot of you do, the Beatles. And we will be talking about the Beatles' only double album, the White Album, all 30 tracks of it. When she chose the White Album, I thought, okay, that's fine, we'll do this. And then, because I had completely forgot how long that record was, I go to Wikipedia and I look at the track list. I'm thinking, oh my God, this thing is 30 tracks long. How are we going to do this? So we normally go track by track during this, but we're going to do a whip around version of it tonight. So ladies and gentlemen, I have jabbered enough. Please welcome your guest, the inimitable, the wonderful, the absolutely incredible Diane Marie Coll.
Hello.
I had to give you just a slight bit of ribbing about choosing the album with 30 tracks on it, but we'll cross that bridge. We'll cross that bridge at another time. So
the great thing is that a lot of those tracks are really short.
Yes,
So
that is true. Let me just curious. I've got the Wikipedia pull. I want to see how long this thing is with all those short tracks in mind. Oh God, it's still an hour and 30 minutes. Just a little bit over an hour and 30 minutes.
Wow.
So as you can see by the title of this video, we are here to talk about the Beatles, the Fab Four. And as a lot of folks do, I'm sure you have quite the story to tell about the Beatles and how you first found out about them and how they made such an impact on you. So, please tell the fine folks that story.
I will. And, it'll be somewhat chronological, but, my first musical memory is of the Beatles. And I have this crystal clear memory. I was 3 or 4 years old. I forget the age, but I was dancing with my Teta Margie, and Teta is Slovak for aunt. My Aunt Margie was a teenager and a big Beatles fan, and she lived right upstairs from us. We had a 2-flat in Chicago. And I just remember clear as day. And in fact, we were dancing to this album. And the track was "I'm Happy Just to Dance with You." And it was one of those moments of it was just my first musical memory. And I grew up in a Beatles household because I had an aunt and uncle living right upstairs from me who were big Beatles fans. They were teenagers. The Beatles were still together.
Yeah.
So I just thought they were the coolest aunt and uncle. And as a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old, I was always sneaking upstairs to hang out with them and listen to Beatle records. So, it's in my blood.
Was the song that you mentioned the first Beatles tune that really grabbed you, or was it one, or was there one before that you really latched onto first?
Well, that was the one I remember, and it was, a George Harrison song, and it is his birthday today.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and just "Happy Just to Dance with You," and that's what I remember. And actually, the second song that I remember really liking was "Strawberry Fields Forever."
Oh yes.
And I would make my aunt play that over and over because she had the 45.
Wow.
And just, yeah. So I would say that would be song number 2 that I really latched onto. And, just heard all of their albums. And it really wasn't until I was maybe 13, 14 is when I really clicked with the White Album.
Wow.
This album is so raw. And to me, it sounds like it was the Beatles in the rawest form, and just to kind of hear them individually too was very interesting. And it's just the whole album's a trip.
Mm-hmm. So you were of age when the Beatles broke up. Do you remember where you was the moment you heard the news?
Oh God, no, I was still too young, actually.
Oh.
I was, gosh, 4? Was I 4? Um, I honestly don't remember where I was because, I was still too young and it didn't really make sense to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were just omnipresent in the house. So as a little girl, it was kind of like, well, I don't know what that means, but I'm still hearing their music.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if my aunt were still alive, she would tell you exactly where she was because she was probably in her late teens by then.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's focus on, and by the way, hello, Renee Yaworsky. She just walked in here.
Hello,
Hello,
Renee.
Renee. So talk a little bit about, let's focus now on the solo work that came down. Let's focus on the solo work that came down after the Beatles broke up. Who was your favorite? Uh, who was the favorite of the 4 when they went solo?
Yeah, George was my first favorite. I mean, when All Things Must Pass came out, again, I was still very little, you know, but I remember hearing My Sweet Lord and What Is Life, and I loved his style, and his solo album was the first solo album to hit number 1. And so happy that he got his due later. And that was a double album. John Lennon, when I was a teenager, his solo albums, oh my God. The Imagine album, his first album, The Plastic Ono Band, is one of my favorites. It is, and in fact, I was like, do I want to talk about that one or do I want to talk about the White Album? Because John's Plastic Ono Band first solo album is incredibly raw. I mean,
Yeah.
flaws and all, and took a lot of courage, I think, to really come forward. As he always fought against that idolization in a lot of his songs. He would sort of poke fun at how people would read into the lyrics and all this and that, and that Plastic Ono Band just really ripped that whole veneer of the Beatles off. And I think that took a whole lot of courage to do that. There's so many great songs in that album.
So if you're wondering why I'm not on camera, right, I'm still here, but I'm tagging folks. I'm still here, but I'm tagging folks. I'm doing about 4 different things at once, but I'm still here. I'm still here. And
no worries at all. No worries at all.
So since we're on the topic of the solo records, which solo record of the 4 is your favorite?
Man, it is really between All Things Must Pass and the Plastic Ono Band. I have to give Paul McCartney his due too, because I love Ram. I love that album. Oh man, do I have to pick? And I'm not mentioning a Ringo album,
Ringo was, if you really want to say it, though, Ringo is the most low key of the 4, even though, in my opinion, I think he had some of the best solo output of any of them.
With George Harrison's help, yes.
Oh, yeah. What?
Yeah, George Harrison co-wrote and wrote a lot of his early songs, like "It Don't Come Easy" and
I
"Photograph."
love that song.
Yeah, yeah. George and Ringo were very close, and yeah, they were kind of like the underdogs of the group, and stuck together. I've got to say, uh, watching Get Back, that the 8-hour documentary of Peter Jackson. I mean, I just soaked that up. To watch Ringo, I mean, just what a lovely man. What an
Yeah.
absolutely lovely man.
I was just about to ask if you had watched that all the way through. Have
Oh
you
yeah.
all 8 hours?
All 8 hours. And I started watching it again. I thought, no, just maybe I'll watch it in the
Watch
fall.
it again.
Yeah. Have you seen it?
I have not. I need to though. I need to
Uh,
soon.
It's
Even though I
amazing.
don't even though I don't know if I have the dedication to sit down and watch all of that all the way through. Of course, I guess I could break it up. I know I could break it up into sections, but my
Yeah,
attention span's just
yeah, and it's in 4 parts, and the way that Peter Jackson edited is it's brilliant the way he put it together, but it is so fascinating to watch the creative process. To me, that's what was highlighted, is watching the Beatles write together, knowing that was at a point when they didn't really like each other, and
yeah.
they were getting ready to break up, but still watching them. They knew when a song was good, and all of a sudden, it would kind of go from disengagement or a little kind of, blah, 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 blah kind of stuff. And all of a sudden they'd lock in.
Yeah.
There's a great scene just on the spot. Paul McCartney starts coming up with this great riff. And you can see George and Ringo start to kind of turn and their attention. And before you know it, they're riffing and it becomes Get Back.
Wow.
And it's so cool to watch that process,
Yeah.
just a study in creativity and music songwriting. It's fascinating.
It makes you wonder too what else might be out there by other bands. I know that Chicago, they have or had a thing. Oh, what was the record that Just You and Me was on?
Oh, I should know that. I should know that because I'm a
I
Chicago
should too.
girl too. Was it?
I
It
know
wasn't an album.
it was. I think it was. It was one of the ones they recorded in Colorado.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll come to me 5 minutes after we're done here.
Does anybody in the audience know, or should I Google it?
um, Either or.
Know the answer to that. I really should, because I grew up in Chicago and they were right in
Yeah.
Chicago. That was actually my first concert, was the rock band Chicago.
Really? When and where?
Soldier Field. And my mother just she was very cool, and she bought tickets for us to see Chicago. So it was my mother, my older sister Laura, and my older sister Donna, and me. And we were like the only, it was probably, my mother and us were probably like the only family there.
Hmm.
We were just surrounded by a lot
Yeah.
of hippies. And I remember my mother yelling at everybody, "Would you stop smoking pot? Don't you see I have little girls here?"
Meanwhile, you left the stadium with Cottonmouth wondering where the hell you was. Oh,
I
me.
think there was a little of that going on, because I remember, I mean, you could just smell it. And it was still in the open air, but
Yeah.
through the days. But oh, my mother, it was a losing battle. She just,
Oh, me. It's like the first time I saw I'm just gonna go off the script just a second. This reminds me of the first time we went and saw, I think it was Skinner and Bad Company at Charlotte.
oh,
This was
whoa.
this is probably 2012, maybe 2014.
Oh, okay.
And oh good God. You want to mention marijuana. They might as well have had bales and just lit
Yeah.
them on fire, because it was London fog of just smoke over this place.
Oh, I
and
believe it.
it was, oh God.
Yeah, you didn't have
I
to. You
was,
didn't have to partake at all. I'm googling here, just you and me, because that's killing me now.
I love how we've just completely ditched the Beatles and now we've turned our focus to Chicago.
Not quite.
Okay.
Aha!
Ah,
No, wait. I'm
what is
sorry.
it?
That's not
Which
the
which
album
one? Which
cover.
one? Which one?
Chicago Four.
Yes, that's the one with the album cover where they're like painting the logo on the wall, or is that the greatest hits? Oh,
Um,
okay.
they won't. It is this one.
Let me see. Let me see. Oh,
That's
wait,
the
that's
one.
the greatest hits. That's the greatest
Oh
hits.
shoot. Okay.
Ah, it's no big deal.
It is Chicago Four though.
Okay, I'm looking it up right now.
Hey, everybody, just stay tuned.
Yeah, we've completely left the reservation, and now we're just.
That's
Oh,
so
wait a
funny.
minute.
I don't see the album cover, but
Oh, well,
they were a
no,
great band. Oh
no
my
worries.
God, they're a great band.
Yes,
Yeah.
but folks are probably gonna come
Get back
after
to
us with
the Beatles
torches and
now.
pitchforks. Yes, back to the Beatles. She has her hat on now. We are all set and ready to go. So
My Ted
I
Tomosi's, by the way.
so since we have 30 odd songs to cover here, and
Mm-hmm.
almost one of my bucket list things is to have someone do a spit take after something I say, and I come that close to having it happen. So anyway, so like I say, we've got 30
Yes.
songs on this album to tackle.
Yeah.
30 songs on this album.
Yeah.
So let me just read a little bit about the record here. So it
Mm-hmm.
says here, the Beatles, also known colloquially as the White Album, is the ninth studio album and only double album by the English rock band The Beatles, released on November 22nd, 1968. Featuring a plain white sleeve, the cover contains no graphics or text other than the band's name embossed. This was intended as a direct contrast to the vivid cover artwork of the band's previous LP, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club
Mm-hmm.
Band. The
Yep.
Beatles, excuse me, the Beatles is recognized for its fragmentary style and diverse range of genres, including folk, British blues, ska,
Yeah.
music hall, and the avant-garde. It has
Yeah.
since been viewed by some critics as a postmodern work, as well as among the greatest albums of all time. The
Yes.
album features so I feel like I'm preaching to you when I'm saying that, because the way you're responding, I was just like, because when I read these brief things for the album, I usually don't have any response from it. No one, they just sit there in stone-faced silence.
Really? Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah.
all good.
And
It's okay.
the reason I
Yes.
have this poster and these 8x10s in the background is that this came as the album.
Mm. Which I
And
didn't know until she told me about 5 minutes before we started.
yeah, and I'm missing Paul. I don't know. Paul is missing, so that's why I've got him down here. Equal
Oh,
representation.
there he is.
Yeah.
The moon up there had to take precedence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
This album was, I mean, stark contrast to Sgt. Pepper. And I was never a Sgt. Pepper fan.
Really?
I really like two songs on the album: "A Little Help from My Friends" and "Within and Without You."
Hmm.
Um,
Why
but
did you not like that album much?
it's just too it's too fluffy. It's too glossy. There's just something about it, and I'm sure back in the day, and again, I was too young, so for me, Sgt. Pepper, I heard that when I was a little bit older.
Yeah.
I'm sure back in the day it was sonically incredibly, sonically just life-changing, you know.
Mhm.
But to my ears, it was like, okay, next. A little too fluffy and not much about anything. The lyrics were a little too psychedelic, you know. And
Your
this album
view on
is so different.
Yeah, your view on Sergeant Pepper is about my view on the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I hear
there's
you.
some Dead songs I like, but well, it wasn't so much the lyrics as much as how long the things would go. Because welcome,
Yeah.
ladies. Welcome to Under the Influences, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to talk about the Beatles, but first, let's talk about Chicago and the Grateful Dead. So,
Yeah, it's so
oh,
like, right?
we get so we're taking several side roads en route to our destination.
But we're
So,
having a conversation, it's all
yeah,
good. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And okay, so a little bit more on the White Album here.
Mhm.
The album features 30 songs, which I didn't know until I looked it up. And I knew of this album, but I didn't never realize how long the damn thing was.
Right.
So 30 30 songs. Album features 30 songs, 19 of which were written during March and April of 1968 at a transcendental
Mhm.
meditation course in Rishikesh, India.
Yeah, there's a whole story there. Yeah.
Yes. There,
Yeah.
the only Western instrument available to the band was the acoustic guitar. Several of these
Mhm.
songs remained acoustic on the Beatles and were recorded solo or only, excuse me, by part of the group. The production aesthetic ensured that the album's sound was scaled down and less reliant on studio innovation than most of their releases since Revolver. The Beatles also broke with the band's tradition at the time of incorporating several musical styles in one song by keeping each piece of music consistently faithful to a select genre. So we will start our whip around of sorts.
Yeah.
And
Woo.
so like I said at the top, we are
Yeah.
diverging. We are diverging from our usual thing where we go track by track, because if we went track by
Yeah.
track, we'd be here two and a
Oh,
half hours.
exactly.
So,
Yeah. We would both
so
be so bored and done with it. But yeah, to me, it's sort of like just album format, which is the way to hear this album is by side. There's
yeah,
four distinct sides, and to me, side one just kicks things off just with a bang. And you know, it's so odd to say that there was a time when back in the USSR when that came out, it was very controversial.
yeah,
And then there was a time it's like, okay, there's no more USSR. The song's kind of dated. Now here we are today going, oh no, this is
yeah,
going to happen again. Um, but yeah, that song was Paul McCartney's. He was having fun, just kind of, he wanted to write like a Beach Boys kind of song. He was always influenced by the Beach Boys. And he just started thinking about, versus California Girls. How about, the Russian girls, and just kind of writing a song about that. And it's
yeah.
such that song never gets old.
Yeah, it's for sure an earworm. It's for sure an earworm.
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll focus now on side numero uno. So we've got
Yeah.
back in the USSR, Dear Prudence, Glass Onion, Obla Di Obla Da, speaking of earworms, Wild
Yeah.
Honey Pie, The Continuing Story of Bungalow Bill, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and Happiness is a Warm Gun. So
Yeah.
of those 8 songs, take it where you wish.
Oh boy. Well, I had to talk about Dear Prudence because as a teenager, when I heard that song for the first time, it was like that song was being sung to me. And I know anybody who is shy, anybody who is kind of afraid of getting out into the world and, right. And that's what that song is about. It's a beautiful song that John Lennon wrote to Mia Farrow's sister. They were
Wow.
all at this meditation retreat with the Maharishi. Um, and so there was a lot of meditation going on. And Mia Farrow's sister was always in her cottage, wouldn't come out. So,
Yeah.
he just this beautiful guitar that comes in and, dear Prudence, won't you come out to play? And it's such a beautiful, gentle way of bringing somebody into the world. And John Lennon just, you know, there's so many different opinions about him, but as a songwriter, he could be so simple with his words, but emotionally just really get you in the heart. And that's one of my favorite songs on the album. It really speaks to me in a lot of ways. Glass Onion, we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on, but that just sort of gives illustration to John Lennon's fun with poking holes in the Beatles veneer, you know, that they were gods and that they were, you know, to be idolized. He never bought that. And so Glass Onion was sort of poking fun at Sergeant Pepper, which is great. And then, yeah, Obla Di, Obla Da, yeah.
You're not a big fan of it, huh?
No, it's too obladi. You know, it's just too. But Wild Honey Pie is one of those short little kind of. I call it like these short little pieces that are in this album. They're like these cool little palate cleansers. I don't know how else to put it. But Wild Honey Pies is this short, silly, little weird bit of music that it's weird to me that a lot of people don't like that little piece, but to me, it's just so damn fun, you know? And the Beatles not taking themselves seriously. And then, of course, you know, we can skip Bungalow Bill. But, you know, while
this doesn't have anything to do with Yoko Ono, does it?
Oh, no, no.
I know it.
No.
Yeah. And I'm surprised. I'm just a little bit surprised we've not gotten a diatribe from you about, oh, Yoko broke up the Beatles.
Oh, no, not at all. No, and you know what's wonderful is you see that play out in Get Back, all 8 hours. I really think that Yoko Ono was vindicated in some way because you don't see that. You know, you see her there, but she's knitting. She's just kind of hanging out, sitting back. There is a time when she steps up to the microphone after George quits for a couple of days. And, you know, that was a little hard. It's like, oh no.
No, what? Have you ever seen, this is not a jab at Yoko at all, but have you ever seen that video of, I think it's John Lennon and Chuck Berry? They're playing some song, and it may have been, it might have been Johnny Be Good, it might have been Memphis, it might have been something like that.
Oh wow!
But Yoko comes on probably like a minute and a half in, and just does this,
kind of stuff, right?
Exactly. And you're just,
and you know, I get it, but it's just not pleasant to the ears, you know.
The look on Chuck Berry's face when she starts that up, I
have to see that.
I will find it and I will send it to you after we're done here.
Oh, please do.
You will die when you watch that video. So,
and you know, I really like Yoko. I always have. I think she was such a good influence on John Lennon, who was imploding. You know, I mean, he just had such a fractious childhood of, you know, lots of loss and grief and confusion, and you know, and then all of a sudden this idolatry comes from the Beatles. You know, he was very messed up, and openly so. And I think Yoko really grounded him. It took a long time, but you know, those last 5 years of his life, he said he was finally happy. You know, and a lot of that we've got to attribute to Yoko. You know. Yeah.
So, any further comments about side one?
Well, you know, most people probably know this, but you know, while my guitar gently weeps, it's, I think, one of the strongest songs on the whole album. And John and Paul were not taking that song very seriously, so George had to bring in Eric Clapton to play the lead, and then Paul and John were like, "Oh, well, I guess this is a good song." Well, it's just kind of silly to me that George had to do that, you know. But
and I must confess right now, for many years when I was a kid, I did not know that song was a Beatles song.
yeah,
I thought it was a George solo.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
when I
was.
when I said that I didn't know it was the Beatles, I could see Diane starting to look at me like I had a third eyeball growing right here.
What do you mean?
I thought she was gonna leave here just like that. But okay, so side number 2. We've got Martha, My Dear, I'm So Tired, Blackbird, Piggies, Rocky Raccoon, Don't Pass Me By, Why Don't We Do It in the Road, I Will, and Julia. So take it where you want.
Side 2. Well, okay. Martha, My Dear, I love that song. I learned how to play it on the piano, and I was so proud of myself. And I still play it. It's one of my little ditties that, if anybody has a piano, it's like, oh, I know how to play Martha, My Dear.
There you go.
And so, yeah, I love that song. It's just such a happy little song that Paul wrote about his sheepdog,
Really?
Yeah, his sheepdog, Martha.
I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I love that.
Yeah, so when you listen to the song and you hear the words, it just makes you happy. It's one of, what Paul McCartney is great at, is those sweet ditties, that he can write. And I've got my list down here too. Well, Blackbird, of course. Yes. What guitarist doesn't know how to play that?
Me. That's one of. Here's the thing. I do not know how to play Blackbird.
You know what? That will be so easy for you, because if I can play Blackbird, you are the picker. You can play that.
And song. Here's the thing. I know of at least a half a dozen finger stylists that have covered that song over the years, but I've never tried to strike out and play it for myself. I need to, though. I often say that song is, for finger pickers, is one of those songs that's required to get into heaven. So there's a certain handful of songs that you have to know as a finger stylist, and that one's one of them, and I need to learn how.
Oh yeah, and you will be so happy when you do, because that is one of those songs that because I would teach myself to play guitar with Beatle albums, and the White Album was very key in teaching me how to play. So I would just spin the album and get my guitar out and, okay, how do you play that? So when I taught myself Blackbird, after, I was like, oh my God. Yeah. But I think that's more standard than Stairway to Heaven, because most guitar players know how to play Stairway to Heaven, except you.
I do not know how to play Stairway to Heaven either. I don't. Here's the thing. My deal is I'm one of those that doesn't really like the standards. I like the beat. I like off the beaten path. Yeah. That's why I have 2 bags full of Leo Cocky records up there, because I love a good challenge. I love a challenge.
Yeah, man.
Speaking of Led Zeppelin and taking another side road in our road tour to the Beatles. What's that? Oh, bloody hell. What's that song at Black Mountainside? Black Mountainside. I'm trying to play that. I'm trying to learn that one right now.
Oh my God, yes.
Yes.
I have tried. It's the tuning, though, isn't it?
It's Dadgad, I think.
Is it? Okay.
That's what I play Irish Coast Highway in.
Ah, yeah.
It's a hard tuning to learn, but once you get it, it opens up so many doors.
I'm gonna have to
And
Try that, yeah.
and Zeppelin had a few songs, like I know Kashmir was one of them. Kashmir was one of them in Dad Gad.
Yeah.
So what comments more do you have on side two?
Well, oh boy. I mean, side two is so good.
Mhm.
Okay, this is I didn't know this. Don't Pass Me By. It is a Ringo song, and apparently Ringo wrote this song years ago, and he was finally so happy it was getting recorded. And it's really a funny country song. One of the best lines is, "You were in a car crash and you lost your hair." You were in a car crash and you lost your hair. And apparently, speaking of your former guest, Lars Nagel, it was a big hit in Sweden.
Really?
That
Ah,
song it's just such a
oh,
goofy, fun song. And but I've got a funny story about why don't we do it in the road, because
here we go.
when I, it's really we used to, when we still lived in Chicago. No, I'm sorry, this wasn't in Chicago, this was in the suburbs. When we moved to the suburbs, we kept this tradition of every New Year's Eve my dad would bring out all of his slides, and we would watch slides. We would have slideshows and watch the same ones every year, but we would always put on music in the background. And I'm guessing I was 15, and my dad was like, "Okay, you girls pick an album." Well, we picked the White Album, and by the time "Why Don't We Do It in the Road" came on, and I remember sitting there going, "Oh no, what is my dad thinking?" And he didn't say a word, and it was like, "Please let the song be over. Let the song be over before he says anything."
Oh
Like
boy.
invitation slides and "Why don't we do it in the road?"
Oh my God.
So yeah, that's my story about that. But the next song on side two, I will. Um, it's kind of, just bringing up my dad is, uh, my father loved that song, and it's a Paul McCartney, just beautiful, beautiful song. And we actually played that when my father passed away. That was one of the songs that he wanted played during his memorial service.
Wow.
And so, it's kind of funny that those two songs are back to back.
Yes, especially with the stories attached to them. Consider.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what else draws you in on side two?
Side two. Let me take one more look here. Well, Julia has to be one of the most beautiful songs that John Lennon ever wrote. He wrote that to his mother, who I don't know if you know the story, but his mother left him in the care of his Aunt Mamie.
Wow.
He didn't see his mother for years, and he was a teenager, 15 or 16, and then she came back into his life, and they started to reconnect, and then she was run over by a drunk driver and killed.
Oh.
So, I mean, just things like that happened to him early in his life. So he was always pining for his mother, and
Yeah.
almost had her back and then taken away. So this song is so beautiful. If you haven't heard it, it'll make you weep. It's beautiful, and it's a beautiful homage to his mother. Yeah.
I'll definitely check that out. Definitely
Yeah.
check that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So,
Side
any
three.
other comments on side two while we're here?
Let's go to side three.
Nothing on the rest of side two.
Oh, is there
Even
something you want to talk about?
I mean, I'm just leaving it up to you, even though we are skipping over what I'm kind of half ashamed to admit this, but Rocky Raccoon, I don't know
Well,
why,
okay.
but it's one of my favorite Beatles songs, and I cannot explain why. I
Oh,
cannot explain why.
it is a funny song.
It is.
It is. What's funny to
Just
me
just that
about
just that
it
talk rambling to start.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I love the fact that, it's sort of like, Rocky's like, I'm gonna get this guy, I'm gonna get that boy. And then, he's
yeah.
knocked over the first attempt, taken back to his
God.
hotel. And I think it's just a funny song.
Yeah, that would be the story of me if I lived in the Wild West. So we will now pivot to side number three. Birthday, Your Blues, Mother Nature's Son, Everybody's Got Something to Hide, Sexy Sadie, Helter Skelter, and Long, Long, Long.
My
Take it
favorite
where
side.
you want to take it.
This is my favorite side, is side 3.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one that there's not one that I would skip over, and maybe Birthday, just because it's been overplayed.
Yes.
Right?
That every time I hear that song, and I don't care who gets mad when I say this, but whenever I hear that song, it makes me want to get into a 4-point stance and run headlong into a wild boar. And that song,
Yeah.
ugh, there's not many songs that make my eye twitch when I hear it, but that's one of them. Just because it's overplayed. Just because it's overplayed.
Make sure I twitch. I like that.
It's just
Yeah. And everybody says, "Oh, play. It's your birthday. Play birthday." Like, no.
yeah, there's a radio station in Marion, Virginia that they do a thing I forget when exactly they do it, but they'll read off like a list of birthdays that's happening in the town or in the listening area that people send
Yeah.
in, and they always play a rendition of that song. If I had $100 for every time I've heard that song, you would never see me again. I would be living in Palm Springs with my new friends. So,
Free, no Twitch.
so,
So we'll skip over that.
yeah. So, what else?
Okay.
So, what on side 3 grabs you?
I love every song on this side. Your Blues is another one of they just go hardcore blues. And John Lennon, so lonely, wanna die. If I ain't dead already, girl, you know the reason why. And it's just, I remember the first time hearing that going, oh my God, does he want to kill himself? Because it's so like, but that's how he was feeling at the time. It's a great song if you're ever in a bad mood. So, okay. This next song, Mother Nature's Son, I love. It makes me weep every time I hear it. I learned how to play it. I still play it on the guitar. I love this song so much. And you're about to say something.
I think you know what I'm about to say, too.
What are you going to say?
Can you play that on next week's BLT?
I will. I will.
Yay! Okay.
Yeah. And I'll play it straight. Usually when I do a cover, I'll kind of do a little bit of a take on it. But this one, I just do straight because I just think there's no need to mess with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of those cartoons that is beauteous. Everybody's got something to hide except for me and my monkey.
One of the best song titles ever, I might say.
It is one of the most fun songs on the album. And it's another John Lennon song. And he's kind of mocking the Maharishi a little bit because, the whole story about the Beatles trip to India was George Harrison's wife at the time, Pattie Boyd, was getting into meditation. George was starting to get into meditation. And she was the one who heard about the Maharishi. So, the whole Beatle entourage went. And one by one, they all started to realize that the Maharishi was maybe not who he, was saying that he was. You got to look out people that call themselves gurus, they're
Yeah.
usually, there's other stuff going on. And that's what they started to find out. And they left after word got that the Maharishi was making passes at the women. And so, they were like, okay, we're out. We're out.
Yep.
So there's a lot of songs on this album where John Lennon is poking fun at the Maharishi, and this is one of them.
Okay. So before we get into Helter Skelter, I know a story about that song, though you probably already know it. So Paul McCartney, as you know, wrote the song, though I don't know if you know the reason why he wrote the song.
I think I do, but let's hear.
Okay. So he wrote Helter Skelter as a challenge to himself because he heard the Who singing I Can See for Miles.
Yeah.
And he said to himself, I bet I could write something more rambunctious than that. And thus, Helter Skelter was born.
Yeah, I love that about Paul McCartney. He was always up for that challenge with writing, and that's a great example. I mean, what a blistering song. I mean, you wouldn't think you think that kind of song would come from John, but that song comes from Paul. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Man, when those guitar chords kick in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really know how I could describe that song. Think the nightmare vibes that they went for in Day in a Life and the end of Strawberry Fields, but harder rocking.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what it feels like to me.
Yeah, especially at the end. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I can hear what you're talking about. Oh, most definitely. And that song got a bad rap for years because Charles Manson latched onto it. And but what I love is that U2 years ago, God, this is probably in the 80s. They started doing Helter Skelter live because they said, well, Charles Manson took the song from the Beatles. Well, we're going to take it back. I love that.
So, anything else you would like to talk about on side 3?
Yes. Just real brief with Sexy Sadie. That is, again, poking fun at the Maharishi. John Lennon just cloaked it, but Long ends side 3, and it is my favorite song on the album. It is a George Harrison song. I just kind of want to hover here because it is, I wouldn't even know how to describe it. It is acoustic guitar. There's this beautiful organ in the background, but when George wrote with the Beatles, I always felt that he was bringing the Beatles back to center. He was always bringing the Beatles back to what's going on inside. And this song is about him finding himself again, amidst all of the hoopla, all the Beatlemania, all of the idolization, and going within and meditating and reconnecting with himself. And the words are so beautiful. Kind of like it's been a long time. How could I ever misplaced you?
Yeah.
How could I ever have lost you? And it is beautiful. And the way that the song ends, oh my God. It's like you're saying, I wouldn't even know how to describe it. It's very transcendental. And apparently that was Ringo and George that did the ending, But if you haven't listened to that one, listen to it. It is, man, it just brings you back.
I definitely will. So we'll now go to the shortest side on this record, side 4. So we've got Revolution, we've got Honey Pie, Savoy Truffle, Cry Baby Cry, Revolution 9, and Good Night.
Oh
Take it where you
man.
want to take it.
Okay. Well, Revolution 1, as we know, is the acoustic version of Revolution, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Honey Pie, it's just one of those kind of sort of throwback ditties that Paul McCartney wrote, and you know, he kind of gets flack for writing in that style,
Yeah.
but people have to remember his father was a band leader, and his father was a musician, so that's just his way of connecting with his father and honoring his father's heritage.
Mhm.
Yeah, Savoy Truffle is I love that song because um, it's about George Harrison wrote it to Eric Clapton because Eric Clapton had this love of sweets where he could just inhale boxes of chocolate. And he always had cavities. So the song is sort of making fun of that. But what I love about it is the lead guitar sounds like a dentist drill. I mean, talk about being creative.
Okay. I'll have to go back and listen to that now.
Yeah.
A dentist drill.
It really does. It just has that kind of abrasion to it. And when you hear it, you have to sort of brace yourself.
I've never heard a guitar on any song described like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think it was intentional. Yeah.
So, oh my God, if it was intentional.
Oh,
this is connecting now on so many levels for me.
Do tell.
Oh, it's just a bunch of little silly things. Someone says here, it was right around the time Clapton stole Harrison's wife, so I think it was a little more bitter than it sounds.
No, that wasn't quite at the time. That wasn't until, at least according to Patty Boyd's autobiography, wasn't until the Beatles broke up. Yeah. Which is a really good autobiography, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Cry Baby Cry is another good John Lennon acoustic song, kind of painting an unhappy family picture. I love the chord progression in that song, but I want to get to Revolution number 9.
Go for it.
I was thinking I should have been your 9th guest, not your 7th guest.
Oh, see, all those little things are connecting on different levels for her as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn,
No,
I should have been thinking ahead.
Oh no, I know I should have been too. I have to ask you this: have you listened to Revolution number 9?
Oh God, if I have, I don't remember it.
Because
I'm sure I have. It's just I don't remember
it. This is what I want you to do is listen to it, and then you tell me how you experience it, because it is, a lot of people don't like it, but I like it. It is John Lennon and Yoko. It is a sound piece. They're just they're clipping together all these different sounds, and what I love about it is I think it still holds true today, because you hear this like cacophony of conflict, and then you hear people droning on about stuff that doesn't mean anything, and kind of like music interludes. And
so this is like sound collage.
Yeah, this is the avant-garde.
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff, but in moderation.
Yeah, this is about, how long is this? Oh gosh, I forget how long it is. It's pretty long.
I'm looking at the time now. It's 8 minutes 15 seconds long.
Yeah, it's pretty long. And you kind of sit through it, and it's an experience. But to me, it's like life and what we experience on this planet.
Yeah.
And some of it is abrasive, some of it is, oh, that was kind of nice, and oh, that was boring, and you just sort of hear all this different stuff, and it's quite clever too, the way it was pieced together. Yeah, a lot of people don't like it.
So one
And
song more.
yes,
I
I think this
think
was
that
brilliant.
closes everything out.
Yeah, it was a brilliant way to end the album, you know, because you have Revolution number 9, and you're kind of getting
Mhm.
faced with all this stuff. And then they bring in this beautiful lullaby that John Lennon wrote to his son Julian, but you have Ringo singing it. And, you know, you have to have Ringo sing a lullaby. And it is such a sweet, gentle song. So you get this with Revolution number 9, and then, oh,
Yeah.
thank you. And it's such a brilliant way to end the album.
Yes. And talking about that song is a great way to end this episode. So,
Yeah.
Diane, thank you so very much for
Oh, thank
coming on the
you.
show and talking about the Beatles. And thank you to all of you in the audience who
Oh,
has been
thank you.
commenting and reacting and showing
Oh,
love and
thank
support.
you.
And
Thank
again,
you so much, John, for having me and, you know, for saying okay to a double album.
a double album that I didn't know at first was a double album. But
Yes.
I said, hey, whatever Diane wants, she's going to get.
Oh,
So there you go. So,
thank
yeah.
you, sir.
So thank you for bringing the record to us and having us talk about it. And to all of you, thank you for showing love and support. And have a great rest of your night.
Yes.
Wherever you might be in this wide world of ours, take care. Much love. God bless. And all the best.